What's going on, my exotic family? It's your boy Dre. Welcome back to the channel. So I'm actually over here straightening up, pulling poops, doing what I do, make sure the reptiles or the snakes are all good. And I noticed my emerald tree boa, my white lip python, and my green tree python are all going into sheds. So I figured it would be the perfect opportunity to show you guys how I get full sheds like these every time. So stay tuned so we can talk about it and discuss it. For the new reptile keepers, stick around because you might learn something new. So let's go. All right, everybody, so welcome back to the video. Like I said, we're talking snake sheds. This actually is a 2-week-old shed from Luther, my big common boa. Luther is 6.5 foot, and this shed, I measured it at about 8 foot 3 inches. Big shed, and I mean literally down to, I don't know if you can see that, but to the face. It's perfect shed. And for a big snake, I mean, that is great. So how do we get sheds like this every time? How do we achieve those full sheds? Well, we'll start off into it with the first thing being very important is going to be humidity. We have to make sure the humidity is proper. So when researching for your snakes, you got to know those humidity requirements, where they're native to, so they can exhibit that natural humidity. Have it too high or too low, you can start seeing issues like respiratory or any type of breathing issues that could be fatal to the snake. So definitely make sure your humidity is up to par with whatever particular species of snake that you have. Now for the green tree and emerald tree boa and the green tree python, they're both tropical rainforest type snakes, so they like that higher humidity. So I actually did spray them down. I'll probably give them another spray down. Well, more so probably the bark that's in there, just to help with that humidity, to keep that humidity up, because humidity is probably the #1 factor in helping decide if your snake has a good shed or not. So it's very, very important, because shedding is a very stressful process to the snake. They're growing, so their skin is expanding. It's very uncomfortable, which is why typically it's not great to hold your snake for long periods of time when they're in shed. Now, if you have your snake a while and your snake seems to be okay, I guess, I mean, use your better judgment. I have taken a couple of my snakes out in shed, but again, I don't keep them out for an extended period. So humidity is definitely going to be the biggest factor. Also, keep in mind what type of setup you have. If you have something like a glass setup and you have a tropical species, you're probably going to have to do a lot more work to make sure that you get that full shed, which is why, as you can see, I moved these guys into PVCs. They started off in the Exoterras, and they did fine until they weren't doing fine. So make sure you keep in mind and make modifications if needed if you are keeping a tropical species that requires a higher level of humidity, because again, that is very, very important. I mean, it is almost crucial that you make sure that the humidity is up to par when you notice your snake is going to shed. This is, like I said, a stressful process, so we want to make sure that we take it easy on them so they can shed easily. As content creators, we like taking pictures of our snakes and we're just waiting for them to shed. So in order to make that process a lot smoother for them, again, you got to make sure that humidity is right. Alrighty, so the second thing, which I already mentioned, was enclosure. What type of enclosure do you have? Again, my first option is always going to be PVC. It seems to be the best option because it holds humidity very, very well. It retains water well. It's already waterproof for you, and it's non-harmful to reptiles. You don't have to worry about it. Whereas glass, most of them have screen tops. Glass doesn't really insulate heat very well anyway. And then a lot of people don't like tubs. If you can, I know some people do like the Christmas tree totes. The only problem with those Christmas tree totes is there's none big enough if you have a 10-foot plus snake. I mean, sure, they can fit in there, but they're not gonna live in there comfortably for a long period of time. So PVC, even melamine is pretty good. Gotta waterproof it. It's heavier, but it definitely does play a big role in helping keep that humidity up. So keep that in mind. Another thing to keep, it's very, very important, is going to be temperature. You can have great humidity, but if your temperatures aren't where they need to be, if it's too cold, you're still not going to get that perfect shed like you're supposed to. So again, when it comes to your snakes, make sure you have the right temperature and humidity requirements to make sure that your snakes are shedding properly. That is very, very important, very crucial. And also, you don't want a sick snake. If your temperatures are fluctuating way too much, then that's going to definitely cause a problem. So humidity, caging, and temperature are going to be the three biggest factors. And those are the things that I make sure I try to I have in check with my snakes, so I can keep getting sheds like this. Again, this is what a shed should look like every time. I rarely have to pull my snakes out to soak them because they had trouble shedding. Again, if your humidity and your requirements are where they're supposed to be in the enclosure, that should never happen. I mean, there are some cases, of course, like Kubert just last week, he did shed while sitting in his water bowl, so of course that was in pieces. The water dispensed with the shed comes off wet and kind of slimy anyway, so the water naturally broke it apart. But again, he was still able to get all of it off of him in one piece, and we had no stuck shed on him. Now in addition, if you do have stuck shed, then yes, you're going to want to soak them some warm water. Make sure it's not too deep. You don't want to stress your snake out, because 9 times out of 10 a lot of these snakes are not avid swimmers. And although they can swim, again, shedding is already stressful for them, so just keep in mind the water level. Another great thing to keep in mind, depending on what type of snake you have, substrate can definitely play a huge factor in shedding, depending on if you have like a drier species, if you have a tropical species, if you have a drier substrate. Like aspen seems to mold very, very quickly when exposed to water for long amounts of time, and then it's heated. So just be mindful of that. So there's always alternatives. You could always create a humid hide, which I don't have any humid hides for any of my snakes. However, because we're doing good on that. But I've used humid hides for some of my lizards, and I have used them in the past. And basically, a humid hide is you get a plastic tub or container. I like the Chinese food to go boxes. Cut a hole in them, put a bunch of sphagnum moss in there, cut a hole in there so the snake can get in there. But be careful on how you cut the hole. You don't want it sharp, so you can take a lighter, or some people use a soldering iron to smooth those edges out because you don't want to cut in your snake. Snake will hang out in there for however long it wants to, and they will shed in there. I've also used some of the plastic shoebox containers. Those work great for some of your medium-sized snakes, but again, it's still very important that the humidity in the enclosure is where it's supposed to be. That is very important to the snake. So I think I covered it all. I think I got everything, at least from what I do here with my snakes. Everybody, again, does very good. I do spray down, my enclosures. Let me actually grab my spray bottle really quick. Alrighty, I'm back. So I actually use one of the big garden sprayers. If you got a lot of snakes and big snakes at that, this is like a lifesaver. So I definitely recommend everybody, if you have a big collection or if you have large snakes, these come in handy. For the people who have been in the reptile game a while, you guys probably already know about these, but this particular one is made by Roundup, and I love the nozzle on it. It definitely, the fan mode on this one, it spreads the water out real nice. But what I'll do is I'll spray down the dirt and everything in here, and I try not to spray the animals because I know that can stress them out a little bit. But there are some times when I will, just to make sure, if they don't want to go to their water bowl, I'll spray them down a little bit just so they can lick it off of their body or anything like that. But the thing that I don't do is I don't put cold water in my sprayer. I make sure it's room temperature or just kind of like a lukewarm water. So nothing crazy. I did the same thing with the water bowls. I never put cold water in their water bowls or anything like that. Got to remember they're cold-blooded animals, so we have to make sure we're being mindful of that. But usually I spray down the substrate. I'll soak it, or I'll even take like a pitcher of water, pour it down in there, mix it up. That way the humidity kind of rises gradually and it's kind of natural. I will be adding some foggers. I don't want to do misters, but I will be adding foggers to these guys. I'm still debating on if I want to move Venus up to a bigger one, but as of now, I spray these guys down a couple times a week and they do really, really good. Venus is on the go, thinks he's getting fed, which it's about that time. But other than that, that is pretty much all I do to achieve these perfect sheds. And again, if I'm getting this from a 6.5 foot snake, gotta know it works. You gotta know it works. But again, a lot of that is going to come from research and making sure that you're doing everything properly. So humidity, temperature, the huge huge. And even when they're not in shed, it's very important that you keep those two things in check. Again, you don't want a sick snake. You don't want to deal with respiratory. I've dealt with it. It's not fun. Humidity, temperature, substrate, whatever type of enclosure you have, anything can work. You just have to make sure you're putting in that work to make sure it stays in check, because things can also go awry. So we got to make sure that we stay on it. So that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoy this little informational video real quick. Yeah, so like I said, they're about to go in shed. The white lips Aurora is about to go in shed. I'll make sure I show her off when she comes out of shed, because she is oh so beautiful. But yeah, once she sheds, I'll put her out. The anaconda is also in shed. She's been sitting in her water basin for a couple of days. So yeah, I always get multiple snakes going shed at a time. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Drop a like if you like the video. Hit that subscribe button if you love this video. I'm really trying to grow my YouTube, you know what I'm saying? So it would really help me out, so I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, follow me on Instagram at DW Exotics. Got the giveaway coming up. I actually need to announce that. I've been slacking. It's been a rough couple of weeks. I've just been hella busy, but I promise I'm going to announce it this week. And as always, stay exotic.